The question I hear so many people ask is, how do you end up in so much credit card debt? I've been looking for the answer. You know what? We found some videos where people are discussing how they ended up in thousands of dollars of credit card debt. And if you're in credit card debt, don't be ashamed. Comment down below in the comment section, why are you in credit card debt? That's if you ain't scared.
I love this question. How I got into $16,000 worth of credit card debt. I've not made a lot of great choices in my life. Let's just start with that. I got pregnant at 18 and had my first daughter at 19. And then I had my second daughter when I was 21. And then a couple years later, I married an absolutely awful human being, abusive person that abused me and my children. I had to leave while he was at work in the middle of the day with pretty much everything that could fit in my car. I then moved in with one of my good friends who also had children, and we kind of combined our lives, and I had to completely rebuild with basically nothing. Most of my debt is from rebuilding my life after that whole situation that I went through. And then once I racked up the debt, it was just so daunting for me to get rid of it because, again, I'm a single mom at that point. Didn't really make a lot of money. Had two young girls that were counting on me. I felt very trapped in the debt, to be so honest with you. And that's not an excuse. And that's why I'm taking full accountability of all of it now, that I'm trying to work my way out of this because it was so daunting and hard to get rid of that it just seemed helpless that I just kept adding to it. So unfortunately, I've not made great choices financially. So here I am proclaiming that to the world and trying to make everything better financially for myself and my family. My life is fantastic now. But if you're in a situation like that, get the fuck out.
And I hate that that's the reason why she's in so much credit card debt. And if what she's saying is true, that's a very sad situation to be in. You never want to see anyone go through something like that. To be fair, I kind of feel like it's understandable. And again, I also want to point out there's no harm in having an income of your own in the event that you need to take care of yourself and your children. You know, I just don't want anyone to feel like there's anything wrong with being a stay-at-home mom, because there's not. But financially, these are some of the stories we see happen with people who are fully depending on someone else. So y'all just be as careful as you can out there. But I wish her well. Your safety is important. I quickly want to go to the comments. It says here, call the credit card companies and ask them to reduce your percentage. Check out YouTube videos on how the call would sound like. That's actually great advice. A lot of the time when you call the credit card companies, they just want their money, y'all. They're willing to work with you. You'll be surprised. No shame in asking, but you never know unless you try. I mean, what's the worst they're going to tell you? No. And someone else here says, girl, we relate and don't judge. And that's really sad. It's sad that she can relate because of what she was talking about. And if that is the case for you, just comment me too. I'm just curious to know what that looks like for a lot of people. Okay, now we're going to pick it up a little bit because I know that was a little dark. So this woman here is talking about how she ended up in credit card debt, and she has a whole rating scale on a 1 to 10. 1 being would not recommend, and 10 being she thought the debt was worth it, essentially. Okay, rating different ways I put myself into credit card debt. And I don't know if this is a Jeep. Is this a Jeep? On my Jeep, folks. And whatever this is, why does it have two tires? I don't know anything about cars. Okay, first, she says our wedding day, about $6,000 in credit card debt. Okay, she rated this a 8 out of 10. She said, I wish we saved up the money instead, but marrying my husband was the best day of my life, and we paid the debt off very quickly. Honestly, not very uncommon. A lot of people don't even have the money for the wedding, and they're in debt for the wedding years after they've been married. And unfortunately for some people, even though they spent all that money on the wedding, and they're still in debt years later, sometimes they're not even with the person that they ran up all the debt for. Scary world out here we live in. But this is a really nice wedding picture. She said she paid off the debt very quickly, which is good. At least she didn't let it sit on there for years and years at a time, accruing interest from the credit card companies. Okay, next she has a camper that she says she put on a Chase credit card for $2,500. She rated this a 2 out of 10. Very interesting. Okay, she said we sold it last summer for $1,700, and I think we got our $700 out of it, but I don't even want to know how much we spent in interest on this thing. Okay. Pretty much what she's saying is she spent more than $2,500 on this camper, including the interest because they put it on a credit card. Okay, next we have a trip to Disney in 2021. Okay. She rated this a 1 out of 10. She says, I booked it for my husband. Okay, this is for her husband. She said, I booked it for my husband's 30th. Our options were limited because he didn't have a passport. She said it, not me, the shade. It was my first time. We had a blast, and the rewards paid for the trip to see family in Maryland next year. Okay, I gotta know. Who is the Disney adult? Is it the husband? And is his favorite character Daffy Duck? Mickey? Or is it Elsa from Twilight? I don't know. The Disney adults are interesting. I don't even want no smoke with y'all. Because the Disney adults don't take no slander. They don't take no Mickey Mouse disrespect. But y'all know Disney is high. Y'all seen the gift shop? Y'all seen the other Disney videos I did? It is interesting to see somebody give Disney a 1 out of 10. A lot of people are like, hey, that was the time of my life. It's the best thing since sliced bread. Okay. Next, she has a closet full of clothes she never wears, and she rates this a -5 out of 10. And underneath it says, wasteful, stupid, and not worth the money spent on interest. Okay, I want to say something here, y'all. I learned a few things. When I was in high school, actually, my economics teacher taught me something that I still carry with me to this day. Very valuable life lesson. And I think if you apply it when you're shopping, it could help you. This is what you do. First, you're going to have a budget whenever you go in that store. Budget meaning, I'm going to spend no more than $200, right? We're going to go with that number. It sounds good. You're going to go in that store and get a buggy or a basket, whatever you want. Now, when you go shopping, you should be looking at the price tag in the first place to make sure you're not going over budget. But as you're putting stuff in the buggy or the basket, I want you to be mindful. When I say mindful, this is what I mean. Actually ask yourself when you put it in there, do you want it? Now put it in the basket. Now here's the good part. Could be life-changing if you actually do it. Before you go to the register, go find you some real estate in that store. And you're going to go through all that stuff that's in there. All of it. I don't care. And what I want you to do is pick each item up and put it right in front of your face like this. You're going to inspect everything that you put in that basket. Why? Because this is round 2. We need to see, do we really want to buy these items? Now we're being intentional. Now we're thinking about it. See, a lot of times y'all are going in the store, you're just throwing stuff in the cart. You're not even really worried about it because you know you're going to put on that credit card. You're going to worry about it later, which is why you got so much stuff you don't wear or use. Because a lot of us are operating like zombies when we're shopping, but you had to work for that money. So now we're going to wake you up. Now, as you're looking at each of these items, I want you to hold it up and say, do I really like this? And don't lie to yourself. Don't make yourself like it when you really don't like it. Don't say, well, maybe if it's one of them sort of things, put it back. That means it's finna sit in the closet and collect dust. What should be happening if you do this correctly and you're honest with yourself is you might notice, hey, I really liked it on the rack when I first seen it because that was that dopamine. That was something new that made you go, ooh, I like this. You ain't really like it that much. And what you also may find is you got other stuff in the cart that you probably like more. You might even have things in the cart that are similar. This is an exercise to get you to think. And because you're thinking and you're being intentional about your money and what you're buying, you're going to save money. So at this point, you've seen it on the rack when you put the stuff in the cart. Now you've assessed everything that was in the cart. And now we are about to make our way to the register, right? What I need for you to do if there is a line, do it again. Why are we doing it again? You ain't got nothing else to do. Get off the phone because I'm trying to help you save some money. And at this point, you should feel confident about the things in your cart. It should feel like you have a real starting lineup, real solidified bangers in the cart. Now you're going to make your way to the cash register, right? And don't just be up there lollygagging. When the lady or the man is scanning all the stuff that you have, you need to be looking at the price tag. You need to make sure you're not going over budget. Why? Because we said we wasn't spending more than $200. Now, what you also need to do as they're scanning each item is make sure that you actually still want each item. And guess what? If you don't want the item when you see it that last time before they bag it up and make you pay for it, you tell them, excuse me, ma'am, excuse me, sir, do you mind putting that item back? Because you're not obligated to pay for it yet. And guess what? They will put it back. You just saved yourself some more money. And if you did it right, you should feel confident about the stuff you put in your bag and you walk out the store with paying for. Now, what we want to make sure we're not doing is just putting this stuff on credit cards, running up interest on things that we really didn't want in the first place, or spending without a plan. And if you do put it on a credit card, you need to have a plan of when and how you're going to pay that stuff back. If you just went in there running it up on a credit card like it was magical money, like you didn't have to go to work for it, the consequences could be you working overtime, you having to do a side hustle, you trying to get out of debt, or it could just be that you have a closet full of clothes collecting dust. And I don't want that for you. I want better for you. And I think you want better for you too. And it's really kind of sad. She got a whole closet full of shoes, clothes, all these different things, and just unsatisfied. And I know a lot of y'all can relate to that. And if you can, comment down below. All right, next, she said, this was a trip to Rwanda in 2024. Was our first trip not using a credit card? It was amazing and what encouraged us to pay off the debt and fix our finances. I like this. What it really shows here is it can be done. A lot of people don't think that you can actually go somewhere without running it up on credit. It's really crazy that we've got to this point in society. But you can plan to do the things that you really get enjoyment out of in life. You might have to budget. You might have to delay some gratification. But just imagine going to take a trip, coming back, knowing everything is paid for. You don't owe any money for the fun that you had last week.
So when I was in network marketing, I had over 70K of credit card debt. Yikes. But let me tell you what got me to that point of 70K in debt. There was a point where I was making like 20 to 30K a month. And then all of a sudden that started dropping to like 5K a month. But my spending habits remained the same. And I remember talking to like one of my uplines and she was like, you gotta spend money to make money. And I took that so to heart and I spent money and enough to get me into 70K of debt. How unhinged was I?
We hear it a lot. It takes money to make money, right? What's crazy about this is she was making thousands of dollars a month. She said she was doing marketing. She must have been really good at it. And that's great that she was making that large amount of money every month. But what ended up starting to happen is it slowed down, which a lot of things do that make you a lot of money like that. And wouldn't you know, somebody came along and was like, yeah, it takes money to make money. So I'm sure she was looking at it as an investment that landed her 70K in credit card debt. And what's really sad is what happened to the other money that she was making the other months? It just seems like it might have been gone. So overall, in her profession, I wonder did she end up red, even though she had some great months? And what this goes to show you is how sometimes you say stuff to people, you don't know how they'll take it or what they'll do with that information. So you got to be real careful about what you say. Because the lady probably thought she was helping by saying, it takes a little bit of money to make money. How many times have people said that to people, especially entrepreneurs or people who get commission? But I'm sure she didn't think that she was going to do anything out of the way, anything like obscene that was going to land her 70K in debt because she took somebody's words to heart. Oh my goodness. And y'all, this comment is crazy. Somebody here is saying, girl, in a 4-year span, I spent almost 30K because if I just kept it going, I would make it back. Finally had to just say, this is enough and walk away. Oh my gosh, if this don't sound like an entrepreneur, I don't know what does. Or a business owner, and I know how that is. So many people are trying to invest into themselves and they throw everything they got at it, even debt. And sometimes it just still doesn't work out. And it's really sad and unfortunate that it happened. But on the flip side, sometimes it does work out for people, but you just never know. Make sure that whether it ends up good or bad, that you're going to be okay no matter how it goes. Y'all be careful out here.
Maxed out all my credit cards and got myself into $20,000 in credit card debt. Let me explain myself, okay? Because I know what you guys are thinking, like, what could she possibly have spent her money on? Like, I got my first credit card in college, and then from there, everything went downhill. I just, was so irresponsible with my spending. I was so irresponsible with my credit cards, and I applied to so many. Until this day, I still have them. I just don't use them. I have Kettle, Best Buy, PayPal, Venmo. I think I had a Victoria's Secret credit card as well. I was maxing them out like I was a millionaire. That was the first problem, is how many credit cards I applied for.
Look, if you're going to get credit cards at a young age, you got to understand the game, y'all. This is not free money. And I know some of y'all are like, hey, I'm trying to build credit. You don't build credit maxing out every credit card, getting as many as you can and catching them like Pokemon. Some of y'all out here like Ash. Got to catch them all. No, use them responsibly or you're going to end up in a bad situation. Keep in mind the credit utilization, your overall credit utilization on all of your cards. And when you get a whole bunch of different cards, these all end up having different monthly payments that you owe to the credit card companies at a minimum. But minimum payments don't help you out very much to actually pay off what you borrowed. And some of you have high APRs, especially on a credit card. So be careful and don't take on more than you can handle.
The second issue is I was going to school in the city. And if you guys know, John Jay is around the epicenter of shopping, because not only is there a mini mall 2 blocks away from the school, Fifth Avenue is 10 minutes away. There's just so much shopping to do around that area. The places, so many restaurants. So I was spending so much time outside shopping when I had any free time.
Look, and I know it's temptation, y'all. I just know she had to be tempted. All of your friends want to go to the nice restaurants. They out shopping, especially you like the shopping mecca of a city. Yeah, you want to go around and do the stuff that everybody in the city is doing, especially your friends. To make matters worse, a lot of y'all go to these expensive cities or these places where there's a lot of activity, a lot of consumer spending, and you see these people just having a great time, but you don't know their life. You don't know what they do for a living. And then you're young. You're young out there with no money running up on credit cards. And you're just in this bustling city where everybody got it like that and they spending money on all these frivolous things. Worry about yourself. I'm trying to tell you, worry about yourself. A lot of the people around you have decades on you, especially when you're young. We don't expect you to be balling at 19, 18 years old. We were broke at that age. Just like you're probably broke at that age, unless like you're a trust fund baby. And I'm not even mad about it. I'm glad that your parents or whoever set you up. If they did, but if they didn't, you're broke like a lot of us were. Which means you're the perfect victim in a city full of consumerism when you don't have any resources and your desires need to be met, or not need to be met. You want your desires met. I suggest you find things to do in your price range. Maybe even go to the park, go to the lake. I don't know. Don't go where everybody is spending money when you don't got the money. You know what's in your bank account. You know them cards is maxed out, and it's okay. Just know when to say when.
Second of all, I do not cook. Till this day, I do not cook, and that's still a big issue for me because I spend breakfast, lunch, and dinner outside. Like I either do takeout, Uber Eats, or I go to a restaurant, and you know, it's expensive. Okay, it adds up to a lot. I guess I was just not thinking about the future whatsoever. All of my credit cards, I would pay them off eventually, but then I would spend again, and it would add up to thousands and thousands of dollars of spending in shopping, clothes, food, experiences, restaurants.
Oh my gosh. So we're not just finna skip past that. Yeah, we're gonna go there. A lot of y'all need to learn how to cook. The fact that you don't know how to cook is why you're broke. Somebody got to tell you the truth. We got all these recipes. We got TikTok. We got YouTube. We got apps that have recipes on there for free. There is honestly no excuse except you don't want to learn. And I'm only going to say this because I want to be very blunt. If you can read a pamphlet, if you know how to follow directions on a piece of paper, don't be too intimidated to cook. All you're doing is following directions. Now, I know some of y'all don't know how to follow directions because we've seen some of y'all in school. I'm just saying, but don't make it harder than it got to be. Read it and do what it say. If it say you need 2 eggs, go get 2 eggs. Stop trying to substitute stuff. You ain't there yet. You don't know what you're doing. Do exactly what it says until you can get basic meals that you can cook at your house. You will save so much more money. You can't afford to be spending $20 breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can't afford to be doing Uber Eats. You can't afford DoorDash. Some of y'all using DoorDash and Klarna at the same time. Ridiculous if you ask me, especially when you're broke and you're like, oh, I don't got no money. You're the last person that needs to be doing that for quote unquote convenience and because you can't cook. Well, I guess you should learn because likely that's where all your money is going. I've heard people say they are spending $1,000 on fast food because they can't cook. Even if you can't cook rice, because I know a lot of y'all can't cook rice to save y'all life, you can get a rice cooker and rice is cheap at the store. You can even go to the frozen section, get some frozen vegetables. You can get some canned vegetables. You could even get organic fresh. Cut it up, get it out the frozen bag, however you need to do it, steam it and get you some lean meat or whatever type of meat you like to eat and figure out how to cook that to where it's edible. You got a protein, you got some rice, and you got some vegetables. That's a meal. Y'all are going out and paying inflated prices for food that ain't even really fulfilling you anyway. And some of y'all don't even like the food. It got you walking around gassy, skin breaking out, throwing off your hormones. You ain't drinking nothing but juice all day and soda. The high fructose corn syrup is doing you in. It's making you sluggish and tired. And then on top of that, you getting on the scale and you ain't liking what you're seeing. And doing all that with interest. With interest, by the way. Just give it a try. Give it a try. Go in there and actually make an attempt to cook. And especially for a lot of, and I hate to see a lot of women say that they don't know how to cook because, and I'm not saying everybody wants kids, but if you want to have children or a family, which a lot of people say they do, maybe not in this economy, but in general, a lot of people say they want to have kids. What would you cook for the kids? And not just that, I think everybody should be able to cook, whether you're a man or a woman, simply because we're adults. And that's part of being responsible and saving money if you know that that's a large portion of your budget. Don't be scared, y'all. Don't be scared.
Biggest issue is my mentality and the fact that I didn't really have anyone around me be a good example of what it is to be financially stable. And I didn't learn this in school. I didn't learn this from my parents or from my family or from my friends or from my colleagues. I learned everything to get me out of debt on TikTok, which is fucking crazy. It's crazy that TikTok has taught me more than anybody I know, than any teacher I know, than any colleague or mentor or manager that I've ever known. that you know you're not alone. If you're in the same situation as me, just know that it's possible to do better. It's possible to pay off all your debt. It's possible to have a good credit score. It's possible to be financially stable and financially secure. I'm in a much better place now. I have a 401k, I have a savings. I'm doing a lot better financially. And it's all because of videos that I see on TikTok that help me through my journey. So I want to be one of those people.
Baby steps. Baby steps. Everything is a day at a time. You ain't got to conquer the world today. And another thing I want to point out is she said she was getting her knowledge on how to be more financially literate and financially educated from TikTok. I don't care where you got to get it. I don't care if it's YouTube, if it's Instagram, Facebook. Just get some knowledge about how you can better your life. This is going to better your life. That's why I'm always a little bit confused how a lot of people can focus all of their attention and time and energy into things that bring them no value, that don't make their lives better. When every day you out shopping, every day you have to be reminded of your poor spending habits if you have them. You have to be reminded that, hey, I don't really know what to do with money when I get it. Because every time you get money, you're broke and you don't know why you're broke. You don't have a budget. You don't know what a 401k is. You don't know what a brokerage account is. You don't know what an emergency fund is. And I'm not saying any of this to shame anyone for not knowing, because we all at some point didn't know what that was. The reason I'm bringing it up is you have everything at your fingertips. You have a plethora of information. The algorithm on TikTok and on YouTube is feeding you what you are interested in. The algorithm knows that you want to hear about finance. That's why you might see me in your algorithm. And the algorithm knows if you want to see a bunch of ratchetness. The algorithm knows if you want to see some healthy food tutorials. It knows if you're into the job searches. It knows what you're looking for. So ask yourself, what is your algorithm feeding you? Because it's not going to feed you stuff that you're not interested in. And if you don't believe me, just go on TikTok and wipe it clean and only search things that are going to benefit your life. And don't just do it on TikTok, do it everywhere, because why wouldn't you want to do things that are going to make your life better? Why wouldn't you want to be fed information that is useful to you to get you from here to here? If you're watching stuff that isn't helping you do that, you might want to reconsider what you're watching. And we even got things like ChatGPT. You have everything you need in order to be successful and to get knowledge. The question is, what are you looking at? What's occupying your spare time? What are you paying attention to? And that's an interesting phrase because you do pay something. You pay attention. A lot of y'all are like, oh no, I do this and it don't cost me nothing. No, it cost you your time. It cost you your attention. That was the price you paid. And many of us aren't valuing our time and our attention. So we just give it to stupid stuff. Give it to something that's going to give you something back.
Tell me about the stupidest reason that you're in debt, and I'll go first. I used to get my lashes done every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. And I would get those like mega cluster lashes, like they were as long as they could go without touching my glasses. That was about $170 every 2 weeks. I had a maxed out credit card. And every month I would pay down my credit card just enough so that when I would get my lashes done, it wouldn't send my maxed out credit card over the limit again.
Okay, and that's a very interesting one. There was a strategy and a plan there, but essentially it just kind of keeps you in debt because you're about to max it right back out. Wow. And what's interesting about people doing it for any beauty-related things is it typically doesn't last, y'all. It doesn't last. The eyelashes, the waxes, all of these things that a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I got to keep my maintenance up. Do you know how much my Botox is? And it's just like, if you got to come up with a strategy like that in order to make it happen, is it even worth it at that point? Because doesn't it all fade? And every time that you paid all that money for those eyelashes, if you didn't pay them cards back, you're still paying for eyelashes that you paid for 2 years ago on a maxed out credit card. Y'all, we got to wipe that stuff clean. And also in this comment section, she's asking other people, what is the dumbest reason why they're in debt? And she's saying, hey, it's because she was getting them long eyelash extensions. In the comments, someone here says, I think I'm Santa Claus during Christmas. And y'all, Christmas gets y'all every time. It gets some of y'all every time. Tell them no. Tell them I ain't got it. Right before that, typically you see a lot of layoffs because companies like to lay people off right before the holiday. I know it might be cruel, but that's typically what we see. So I ended up seeing a string of videos of people like, yeah, I'm being laid off. And they put Christmas gifts on credit cards. But they were like, the kids, I just wanted to make sure the kids had blah, blah. There was no job in January and rent was due. And then they were on TikTok, on every social media site you could think of saying, I don't know how we gonna make ends meet. We put Christmas on a credit card. And I'm just like, man, it's just sad seeing people dig themselves into a hole that they already probably knew was about to happen for Christmas gifts, and likely even more because job losses. They still have to live. They have basic necessities. And somebody here is saying, my husband fell off a roof 6 weeks before the you-know-what lockdown. We couldn't climb out living where we did. The cost of living was too high for how much we were making. We had been stubborn and tried to stay way too long. Oh my, this is getting bad. This year, we came home to where the cost of living is less and the pay is so much better. Hopefully we can finally catch up. Oh my, the husband fell off the roof. Oh, bless his heart. I hope he's okay. That's really sad. But this is actually a great example of what I was talking about. Unforeseen circumstances where somebody is out of a job. And now they may not be able to make ends meet. And this is another part of why I like to talk about emergency funds and things like that, because a lot of people simply don't have them. And a lot of people are one emergency away or one life circumstance away from something like this happening to where you have to downgrade your lifestyle because you simply can't afford to live where you were living before. But at least if you have that 6-month or maybe even more, a year emergency fund, you have something to tap into in the event something like this does happen. And we never want to see anybody go through something like this. But that is why I like to talk about having emergency fund money. Life is unpredictable for everybody. You just never know. And somebody here said student loans, and I already know, y'all. Whew. Somebody here said my spending problem, and a lot of people have that. And this comment here is interesting. It says, I was trying to fill a void in myself after my friends stopped talking to me for catching the you-know-what. What? Okay, that's interesting in itself that they stopped talking to her after she got you-know-what. And it's also sad to see people say, hey, I'm trying to fill a void, and they're just swiping away, trying to fill a void, and the void never gets filled, y'all. I've been through stuff before. I know what it's like to have something really bothering you to where you're looking for something to give you comfort. The only comfort I could find is Jesus. Sometimes you're just going to feel how you feel. But what I would hate to see is people trying to fill a void and end up with a whole bunch of stuff around them and still feeling so empty inside. That's one of the saddest things you can see. It's a never-ending cycle. It really is. Somebody here said I was addicted to Amazon. Oh my gosh. Amazon made it so convenient for people just to click away to get whatever they wanted to get. Sometimes within hours, whatever you ordered is at the house. And like I said, when you're just throwing stuff in that cart and you're not thinking about it, you're like a robot. You're like a money-making machine for Jeff Bezos and Amazon at that point.
Somebody asked me why am I $500,000 in debt? It's because I went to college. So that's when my debt journey started, just like a lot of us. Why would you give me that much money? I took out $40,000 worth of student loans, and I think I pay $169 towards it every month, a drop in the bucket. When I was in college, I also started getting credit cards. So that's when my credit card journey started. I probably have about $27,000 worth of credit card debt right now. And I was going hard paying it off at one point. I really was. I was trying my best. I was budgeting. I was putting, $1,000 towards it every month. Once you get into credit card debt, it's literally so hard to get out because of the interest rates. I took out a personal loan to consolidate 2 of my credit cards. So at this point, I think I have maybe like $6,500 left on that. So that kind of worked, but the system is really set up for you never to get out. And at this point, it's hard for me to care about credit card debt when AI is taking over and we about to go to war. I also had 2 mortgages. One of my houses I am trying to sell so that I can make a profit and pay off some of my debt. But I had put thousands of dollars towards that right now. I don't have any offers. It's been on the market for like 3 weeks. I was thinking about calling a mortgage company to ask them if they could defer a couple of the payments so that I can keep some cash handy, but I don't know. We'll see.
Oh my gosh, that was a lot. Okay, so first off, she said she was essentially making payments that were a drop in the bucket, $160-something a month. But it sounds like she's making minimum payments, and maybe that's why it's not getting wiped out fast enough. Then she had $27,000 worth of credit card debt. And what I heard her say was, I was budgeting and I was doing all the right things. So I'm wondering, did she stop? If she did stop, I wouldn't be surprised because she was mentioning how AI is like taking over and all this stuff. Maybe she's just really lost hope at this point. And a lot of people are like that. They're like, hey, I don't like whatever. AI taking my job. I don't care. And I hope she's able to pay her debt off because that was a lot. Then she had 2 mortgages. Goodness gracious. And a house she's trying to sell. My. Maybe she could rent her house out until somebody could get in there. That might help at least bring in some income so she's not paying 2 mortgages. Because goodness gracious. But I'd like to know what you all think about all this down below. What is the reason why you are in debt? And do you think any of these reasons were valid or reasonable? Comment down below. But we have to start making better decisions today in order to have a better future.